It looks like I am live. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Tammy Morrison, and I am here to read from Dr. Joseph Murphy's book, Psychic Perception. So today we're going to complete chapter 15, and I'm super excited about it. I cannot wait to get started. It's almost difficult for me to read forward because I really am enjoying this book, and I'm learning so much. And so I hope that that is the same for you, that you're learning as much as I am. So without further ado, and then also I need to say that if you would like to join me, because I have this program that I've created, 8 weeks to limitless, excuse me, and it is an amazing type of program because it's going to be so much fire, and it's going to help to lead and guide you to your soul and to your soul mission and your soul purpose. So if that is something that you are looking for, because I'm looking for people that, basically you already have it all. You have everything that you desire. Your money is right. Your abundance is in effect, but you feel like there's something missing. There's something missing, like that connection to your soul you feel like is missing. So if that is something that you are thinking about and considering, then I would ask you to reach out to me wherever it is that you're watching this video. DM me if you're on Facebook or Instagram, and any of the other places. You can either comment below the video also, and I can reach out to you. So not a problem. Not a problem. So let me... No, I'm not even doing that today. All right. All right. So without further ado, we'll get started on psychic perceptions. How to know the mysterious perceptive powers of your mind. You have a conscious and a subconscious mind. These represent two phases or functions of your mind. Sometimes they are referred to as the objective and the subjective mind. With your conscious mind, you reason, analyze, and make use of your five senses to govern your contact with the world. Your conscious mind reasons inductively and deductively. Your subconscious mind is the seat of memory, emotions, and intuition. It is the seat of clairvoyance, clairaudience, telekinesis, and telepathy. In your subconscious, you will find infinite intelligence and boundless wisdom and all the riches of the infinite waiting for you to tap. In a passive psychic state, it is possible for a good sensitive to read your thoughts, even in the minutest detail. He or she may even read a sealed letter in your pocket, which you have not read yourself. Many have developed the clairvoyant powers of their subconscious to the extent that they have the ability to see events happening at a distance and independent of their five senses. Your subconscious is sometimes referred to as the soul. A very important thing to remember is that your subconscious mind is constantly amenable to suggestion. For example, if you are placed in a hypnotic state, your subconscious mind will accept without hesitation every suggestion made by the operator, no matter how absurd or incongruous it may seem to your conscious mind. What experiences reveal about your subconscious? For example, the author has witnessed many hypnotic experiments in different parts of the world. In one, he has seen a man put into a trance and told by the psychologist that he was a dog. The man accepted the suggestion and played the role of a dog to the best of his ability, lapping up milk from a plate, barking, etc. In other experiments, when a man told that he is President Roosevelt and if he is old enough to remember the former president's voice, mannerisms, and gestures, he will reenact the role with the vocal intonations characteristic of Mr. Roosevelt. Remember, your subconscious is amenable to the power of suggestion and acts upon it whether the suggestion given is true or false. Your subconscious brings it to a logical conclusion based on the premise given it while your conscious mind is suspended and in abeyance. Your subconscious does not reason like your conscious mind, but accepts the idea given it, and working by deduction, it responds according to the nature of the suggestion given. It is absolutely essential that you understand the mode of operation Otherwise, you may be tricked, deceived, and fooled by all manner of fraudulent operators. You must intuitively perceive all this deception. He was told he was possessed by a devil. Some years ago in London, England, I witnessed a medical doctor hypnotize a seminary student called Pat. He suggested to Pat that he was possessed by devils. Immediately, the student turned pale, shook with terror, and began to scream and yell. He was about to go into convulsions, but the doctor immediately removed the suggestion and told him he was free now, calm, peaceful, and perfectly well. When he was awakened, he had no memory of what had happened and was completely relaxed and at ease. It is easy to understand what happened. First of all, of course, there is no such thing as a devil or the condition of being possessed by devils. But Pat believed in a devil and devils. Therefore, he saw what he believed to be devils, half man and half beast, with cloven hooves, horns of a goat, and a fiery tail which stings. These forms were what we call subjective hallucinations, based on portrayals of devils given to Pat when he was a boy. The actual devils which haunt us when we lose our perspective faculties are fear, ignorance, superstition, hate, jealousy, remorse, etc. How Pat described heaven. Pat was again hypnotized and told he was in heaven. He was asked to describe what he saw. Immediately his countenance changed. He seemed peaceful and joyous and almost ecstatic. He told us all about the beautiful angels he saw there. And he saw a magnificent golden throne, and sitting on the throne, a man seemed to be a great sage. The man, who looked like Jesus, had a scripture in his hand. Pat also heard beautiful music, which he described as a celestial choir. It is obvious to anyone who is informed on this subject that since the subconscious mind is controlled by suggestion, the imaginary picture Pat saw of heaven was based on his early boyhood beliefs and theological instructions. He believed that heaven was a place where you go when you die. The suggestion of the doctor simply activated his subconscious beliefs and opinions and dramatized his premise though false, to what seemed to be a logical conclusion. Remember this clearly. The suggestions given to Pat in the trance state, whether true or false, were reasoned deductively only and dramatized by his subconscious with marvelous acumen and sagacity. Experiments on medical students and how many drank water and became drunk. That's got to be hilarious. Another interesting experiment conducted by the same medical man was that of hypnotizing two medical students who were present. To one, he gave soup shavings and told him it was a banana and that he would relish it, digest it, and feel good afterwards. This student ate the soap shavings and had no subsequent gastric distress. To another hypnotized student, he said he had a very high temperature and rapid pulse and was perspiring copiously. All these symptoms were manifested immediately. Mary, in the trance state, was given a glass of water and told it was Irish whiskey. She became highly intoxicated, murmuring gibberish and staggering all over the place. The doctor gave her a tablespoon of water and told her that it was a specific drug from Germany, which would instantly bring sobriety and peace of mind. His mere suggestion acted as the perfect antidote for Mary. When she was awakened, she felt absolutely normal and at peace. This demonstrates the amenability of the subconscious to suggestion as well as its creative power. Your autosuggestion can prevent you from being hypnotized. You cannot be hypnotized by another provided you convey to your subconscious the idea that no one can hypnotize you without your consent. Hypnosis is usually induced by the suggestion of the operator. His failure to hypnotize you is due to your suggestion that to your subconscious that he cannot do it. Your autosuggestion is more powerful than his suggestion. This is why he fails. All this is due to the way your subconscious works. The stronger suggestion always prevails. The reason why the hypnotist failed. Some years ago, I attended a series of experiments on hypnosis in the home of an outstanding lawyer psychologist in New York City. He hypnotized a young girl and repeatedly suggested to her that she should disrobe. This was in the presence of about 12 men and women. She refused to cooperate in any way and seemed highly disturbed and distressed. The psychologist, confounded by her stubborn resistance because he had boasted she would do anything he told her to do when she was in a hypnotic state. He had expected passive obedience, which he did not get because he was unaware of the subtle role of the counter suggestion this girl had given to herself. She retained her perception. Your subconscious always accepts the more dominant of two ideas or suggestions. The girl's auto suggestion prior to the hypnotic sleep experiment was this: I will do absolutely nothing contrary to my moral or religious code. My subconscious accepts this. Oh my God, that is amazing. This demonstrates that suggestion is the controlling power governing your subconscious. Your subconscious is amenable to the suggestions of your own conscious mind just as well as that of another. In the waking state, you can always reject the suggestions of others and think on whatsoever things are true, lovely, and of good report. How she was freed from a so called evil spirit. From the foregoing illustration, you can see how your subconscious mind operates. Last year, while I was on a speaking engagement in San Francisco, a woman came to see me at the hotel complaining that a discarnate entity who was an evil spirit was constantly annoying her by pouring out vulgarisms, obscenities, and maledictions, commanding her to violate her sex code, and even scratching her at night. Recently, he had been telling her to jump into the ocean and commit suicide. She had been taking tranquilizers and had had some psychiatric consultations, but nothing seemed to do her any good. This woman seemed frightened out of her wits. She told me that many times, night and day, this so called entity kept saying to her, take an overdose of Seconal. Go ahead, kill yourself. The cause of her inner turmoil. This woman, who believed in the literal interpretation of the Bible and in evil spirits possessing her soul, did not understand that the devils mentioned in the Bible were simply personifications of hate, resentment, remorse, self condemnation, anger, and hostility, as well as other destructive emotions which are generated by destructive negative thoughts and thrown in the mind. She had been practicing automatic writing for some months. This means that she had held a pencil in her hand, believing some invisible spirit would guide her hand. According to the law of suggestion, her own subconscious mind accepted the suggestion given it, and gradually it assumed control of the muscles and nerves of her hand and propelled her pencil. Her conscious mind was passive and quiescent, and as she pointed out, objectively speaking, she was oblivious to what she was writing down. She was also fearful that evil powers might write through her. Moreover, she felt guilty and had a deep resentment toward her husband, for he was impotent and completely depleted sexually. The voices she heard, which cursed God, her Bible, and herself, were merely a playback from the poisonous food she had been feeding her subconscious mind. She didn't know the power of autosuggestion. The entity that she believed to be speaking to her was in actual fact her own suggestion of fear. Job said, that which I greatly feared is come upon me. And that is so real. I gotta commentate here. That is so real. The thing that you greatly fear is come upon you. And what I learned is that when I realized that and I flip the script, then that no longer happens. That no longer happens, because once you realize and you get that aha moment that the thing which you greatly fear is coming upon you, then you'll stop fearing those things that keep coming upon you. All right, Job 3:25. The woman associated her automatic writing with the idea of spirits, not knowing that it was actually her subconscious mind reproducing what she had impressed upon it. Her subconscious was dominated by fear, guilt, because she hated her husband, plus the fact that she believed she should and would be punished because of her deep seated resentment and hostility. These voices seemed like another personality when actually they were a dramatization of the negative contents of her subconscious. Actually, she was talking to herself. How she healed herself and experienced peace of mind. Frankly, I think my explanation to her was 90% of the healing process. I explained that it is absolutely impossible for negative and destructive voices and emotions to dwell in a mind dedicated and consecrated to the God presence within one. And all that she had to do was to fill her mind with the truths of God, which would then crowd out her mind and everything unlike God or the truth. Accordingly, at my suggestion, Morning, noon, and night, she repeated out loud the words of the great healing and protective 91st Psalm, knowing that as she affirmed these truths, they would neutralize, obliterate, and expunge from her subconscious all the negative patterns lodged in the recesses of her deep mind. She made the 91st Psalm, a vital part of her life, and whenever any negative voice or thought came to her from her deeper self, she would affirm immediately, God loves me and cares for me. In the secret place of the Most High God, I abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. After 10 days, these destructive voices lost all momentum and she found herself at peace. You can saturate your mind by repeating the marvelous spiritual gems of the 91st Psalm. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. And I say that, and I put my hand on my heart because I feel it. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon shalt thou trample under feet, because he hath set his love upon me. I say that a few times. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him. He shall call upon my name, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. The above will surely increase your sense of psychic perception. How she discovered who was operating the Ouija board. My secretary, Mrs. Wright, the mother of two extraordinarily brilliant young men, just informed me that some years ago, when she was a teenager, her grandmother and she had spent many hours operating the Ouija board and receiving wonderful messages from supposedly unseen intelligences. The Ouija board was apparently propelled by some unseen power, and the pointer spelled out answers, to all questions asked. Mrs. Wright did not know at that time how the conscious and subconscious mind functioned, and she did not believe in any supernatural entities or discarnate spirits operating the Ouija instrument. The term spiritualism and spiritualistic phenomena also meant nothing to her at that time. One day she asked the Ouija board, who is writing and who is answering my questions? The Ouija spelled out Louise Barrows. Louise is her middle name, and Barrows was her name prior to her marriage to her husband, Stan Wright. This experiment demonstrates clearly that at that time that Mrs. Wright operated the Ouija board, she knew nothing about spiritualistic phenomena. Therefore, her subconscious mind did not assume it was a spirit speaking. Had she believed that some deceased relative was responding naturally according to the law of suggestion, her subconscious would have played the role of a deceased relative. Her grandmother, who rejected the hypothesis that invisible entities operated the Ouija board and sent answers from the next dimension of life, Asked the Ouija board, "Is it my own mind answering me?" The answer spelled out was only you. If she had entertained the idea that it was a deceased person or some disembodied spirit operating, her subconscious would have assumed the role and would have answered accordingly. Actually, it was the subconscious mind operating the Ouija board, and these people were just talking to themselves. The law of parsimony, or the simplicity in assumptions in logical formulation, must precede all other criteria in arriving at an explanation. The onus probandi is placed where it belongs, with those who claim invisible entities for the phenomenon. A streetwalker speaks like a goddess. The essence of the following presentation is taken from pages 10 and 11 of my personal permission for publication has been granted by his widow, Dr. Olive Gaze. The late Harry Gaze, world lecturer, author, and close friend of the late Judge Thomas Troward, author of Edinburgh Lectures and many other books on mental and spiritual laws, revealed an interesting experiment conducted by himself, Dr. Cornwall Round of London, and Judge Thomas Troward. Troward wanted to see Dr. Round perform an experiment with the subconscious mind. Dr. Round was an outstanding physician and surgeon in London and had experimented extensively with hypnosis. At Dr. Gaze's request, Judge Troward attended the Psychotherapeutic Society, and Dr. Round fetched a professional streetwalker to whom they paid a very good fee. Considerably in excess of her usual honorarium, Dr. Gaze said that she was assured that nothing would happen to hurt her in any way and that she would feel refreshed and stimulated after the hypnotic session. After hypnotizing her, Dr. Round repeated to her subconscious mind many times, "You are a high priestess in the temple of the sun. You have a message for those who are here. You will speak to us clearly and brilliantly. You know great truths. You will tell us about them. You have wise and able associates, and you are open to their wisdom. You are fluent and able. Remember, you are a wise priestess, and you can instruct us." After much repetition of substantially the same words, her regular personal characteristics seemed to disappear and a new and more attractive individual appeared. Finally, she lifted herself up proudly and even regally, assuming the impersonation of a goddess, and launched into a discourse in which she talked eloquently and learnedly of life, philosophy, and immortality. Thomas Troward was profoundly impressed, as were others, some of whom had previously tested hypnosis for medical usage, and sometimes as an anesthetic for minor operations. Judge Troward exclaimed, "This certainly proves that there is a subjective mind that can accept and impersonate what is vividly suggested, when hypnotism has placed the conscious mind in abeyance. But of course, the thought is the real power." The answer was an elevation of psychic perception. Interestingly, the company had various views about the source of the phenomenon. One man was positive that the subject matter of the discourse, as well as the changed deportment of the woman, were supplied by a control in the form of a disembodied spirit of great intelligence. He saw in them results of proof of spirit communication. The consensus, however, shared by Judge Troward, by Dr. Harry Gaze, and Dr. Round was that it illustrated the normal powers of the subjective mind and that the ideas advanced were a composite of the ideas held by those in present or ideas received from the treasury or storehouse of the universal subjective mind. I have been using information from a written report of an experiment related by the late Dr. Harry Gaze, and the way I look at it is simply that when the subject was in the trance state, she responded to the suggestion of Dr. Round. Her subconscious, in turn, tapped the contents of the mind of those present through her psychic perception, who were very familiar with Vedantic philosophy and Oriental, Buddhist, and Hindu religions. Her subconscious then, with amazing sagacity and mental acumen, synthesized the various contents residents in the subconscious of all present and presented them in logical sequence conforming to the nature of the suggestions given by Dr. Round. Oftentimes, you get a psychic message from yourself. An old friend of mine in New York City experimented with a number of men and women who were self-styled mediums and who professed to get in touch with relatives in the next dimension. During these experiments, he would give his own name and ask for a communication. The medium assumed he had a brother or father in the next dimension, and he always received very comforting and loving messages from an imaginary deceased brother and sometimes even from his father. In other words, he had a very touching communication from himself. The reason being that the mediums acted on the supposition that his own name represented a deceased relative. The fact is, he had no deceased brother or father, which made him even more convinced that it was simply the medium's subconscious reacting to her own suggestions. She had gone into a trance state, suggesting to her subconscious that she would get a communication from the supposed loved one in the next dimension, and her subconscious obliged him with an affectionate message from himself. There are outstanding exceptions. Not all communications have their origin solely in the subconscious of the sitter or the medium. There are some extraordinary, outstanding mediums of unimpeachable integrity. As you have already deduced from reading this chapter, it is just as easy to receive messages from a living person through an entranced medium as from a so-called dead person, and also from an imaginary person as from a real one, by making the appropriate suggestion to the subconscious mind. The late Arthur Ford was one of America's foremost mediums, and there is no doubt that when he was entranced, extraordinary and verifiable messages came forth through him. Undoubtedly, in his case, he served as a channel through which communications came from loved ones in the next dimension. Countless listeners testify that they are genuine. For example, I believe that Bishop Pike's communications with his deceased son were authentic and real. Suppose, for instance, that your father called you from London, England, and suppose someone else was mimicking his voice and pretending to be your father. Would you not have all sorts of ways and means of discovering whether it was really your father or not? Certain anecdotes, pet names, trivial incidents, and a host of other experiences known only to both of you will soon convince you that it was your father. The late Geraldine Cummins, author of many books investigated by many scientific bodies, was at times undoubtedly in touch with people in the next dimension. It would be foolish to say it is impossible because we are all mental and spiritual beings, and telepathic contact exists between loved ones all the time. If you are in Chicago and your mother is in Los Angeles, you can receive a telepathic message from her, and she can also receive one from you. How often have you seen the entire contents of a friend's or relative's letter in your sleep and then received it a few days later and discovered that the contents coincided with your dream? It is perfectly possible also for loved ones in the next dimension to communicate with you, but it is certainly the exception rather than the rule. Eileen Garrett is another extraordinary medium studied by many leading scientific bodies. Sir Oliver Lodge, one of the world's foremost physicists, was absolutely convinced that he had communicated with his son, who had died in the First World War. These dialogues were reported in his book entitled Raymond, published in 1916. Some of the great scientists who have contributed to psychological research are as follows: Henry Sidgwick, Edmund Gurney, Professor William James, called the father of American psychology, Sir William Crookes, Arthur Conan Doyle, and J.B. Ryan. Myers of Cambridge published Human Personality and Its Survival of Bodily Death, a universally acknowledged masterpiece. It is true, mind can communicate with mind, as we must learn to differentiate between communication from our subconscious mind and that of a loved one. Do not seek guidance from men or women, either on this plane or the next dimension. They do it through psychic perception. Follow the injunction of the Bible, which says, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him." James 1 and 5. So, points to remember. There are two phases of your mind. One is called the conscious mind, which chooses, rationalizes, analyzes, and reasons inductively and deductively. The other is your subconscious mind, which only reasons deductively. It is the seat of memory, emotion, clairvoyance, clairaudience, telepathy, infinite intelligence, and boundless wisdom reside in your subconscious mind. Whatever your conscious mind conveys to your subconscious, the latter accepts whether it is true or false. Your subconscious mind does not look at two ideas and then make a decision as to which is best. You are to decide that with your conscious mind. When you are hypnotized, your subconscious mind will accept the suggestion of the operator without question. For example, if you are told you are a dog, you will play the part of a dog to the best of your ability. You will bark when you are told to do so, and you will lap up milk like a dog. Your subconscious mind is amenable to suggestion and is controlled by suggestion. For instance, if a person believes in devils or evil spirits and in a hypnotic trance, it is suggested to him that he is possessed by devils. He will dramatize and exhibit the roles of as many devils as are embraced in the suggestion. In other words, his subconscious accepts the suggestion. Subjective hallucinations of devils with hooves and horns, tails with stings, wings of a bat, and other horrendous monitions and shapes appear, all of which are figments of his distorted, twisted superstitions and beliefs which his subconscious dredges up to conform to his beliefs. A man who has never heard of devils and did not believe in such teachings would not have any such experience. I can say something about that. It's like traumatized by religion. If you say to a hypnotized person who believes in a heaven up there somewhere and who believes that there are angels and golden thrones and celestial choirs, you are in the heavens now. He will become peaceful, loving, ecstatic, and describe what he believes to be heaven. His subconscious, accepting the suggestion, dramatizes his childhood belief and picture of heaven. He doesn't know that he is in heaven now, which is in his own mind and spirit. If you give a glass of water to a hypnotized subject and tell him it is whiskey, he will become intoxicated and play the role of a drunkard. The reason is his subconscious takes your suggestion literally and acts accordingly. If prior to being hypnotized, you give yourself a powerful auto suggestion that you will not do anything ridiculous or contrary to your moral code, the suggestion of the operator that you disrobe or steal will prove to be of no avail because your subconscious accepts your dominant suggestion. The stronger suggestion always prevails. If you suggest to yourself boldly and meaningfully that no one can hypnotize you, it follows automatically that you can't be hypnotized by the operator. You simply close your mind to his suggestion and tune in on the infinite within you, and then you are immune. In the waking state, you can always reject the suggestions of others by thinking on whatsoever things are true, lovely, noble, pure, godlike. It is dangerous to practice automatic. Oh, wow. Psychic writing if you are afraid of evil spirits, discarnate entities, or gods in the astral realm. You attract what you fear, and when you suggest fear to your subconscious and feel guilty and resentful toward others, you open up the psychic doors of your mind and dredge up all the debris from your subconscious. When you feel guilty, it is always accompanied by fear and expectation of punishment, and your subconscious reacting according to the suggestion given it, namely fear, guilt, resentment, etc., proceeds to talk to you, oftentimes in blasphemous language, disturbing you mentally and physically. Actually, it is a playback of the contents of your own subconscious mind. The way to overcome the hearing of voices and the beliefs that you are possessed by evil entities which urge you to commit suicide by evil and all manner of evil is to realize that when you fill your mind with the truths of God, you neutralize and obliterate all these negative patterns. The best prayer to use is the protective 91st Psalm. Read it over slowly, quietly, and feelingly many times a day. These spiritual vibrations will be conveyed to your subconscious mind and will destroy, annihilate, and cleanse all dirty linen in the closet of your mind. When fear and negative voices come to your mind, affirm it immediately. God's love fills my soul. I just I just had a thought. I was like, or Beyonce song. You won't break my soul. God's love fills my soul. Keep it up, and after a while, you will be free. A woman asked the Ouija board, who is writing the message? The answer was only you. In other words, her subconscious mind was operating the Ouija board, supplying whatever kind of message she wished to hear. Her subconscious, being governed by suggestion, acted accordingly. Had she believed in discarnate entities or that departed loved ones were operating the Ouija board and responding to her, her subconscious mind, being true to its nature, would have played the role of an imaginary departed relative. It is possible to take even a streetwalker who has little or no education and who knows nothing about Eastern philosophy, Oriental religions, or immortality, and hypnotize her to activate her psychic perception in the presence of men and women who are thoroughly versed in these subjects. When potent suggestions are given to her, such as "You are now priestess in the temple of the sun," "You will give a marvelous disquisition on Oriental philosophy," "You are very wise, learned," etc., her appearance changed and she assumed a regal posture and gives a marvelous lecture. Her subconscious acts upon the suggestion given and taps the subconscious mind of all present, and her discourse is simply a composite of their beliefs and assumptions. In the trance state, she could also receive data on these subjects from the treasury or storehouse of the universal consciousness. There are many self-styled mediums who profess to get in touch with loved ones in the next dimension of life. You can go to one and give your name, such as Mary Jones, and ask for a message. The medium assumes it is a sister or mother in the next dimension, but you have no sister or mother there. You receive a very comforting, loving message purporting to be from your loved one. All this is due to the suggestion of the medium to her subconscious mind, and it answers accordingly. The same medium will give you a comforting message from an imaginary or non existent person also. There are outstanding mediums who undoubtedly do receive communications from the next dimension of life. Among them are Arthur Ford, Eileen Garrett, and the late Geraldine Cummins, who was investigated by a great number of psychic bodies. She has been acclaimed by the Psychical Research Society of England. I believe that late Bishop Pike's dialogues with his son through mediumship of Arthur Ford were definitely genuine, fourth dimensional communications between father and son. If you hypnotized a man, suggested to him he was your brother, but he had never met your brother, he would be incapable of assuming his gestures, demeanor, diction, tonal qualities, or mannerisms. He would play an imaginary role, but it would not be that of your brother. He could not impersonate your brother because his subconscious has no memory of your brother. That ends chapter 15. Tomorrow, or the next time I read, it'll be tomorrow probably. How to let psychic perception work for you and your children. Chapter 16. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, Opexus. All right. So chapter 16 is going to be tomorrow. I am super, super excited and thankful that you have joined me today. This has been such a pleasure reading this book. I absolutely love it. I love it. I love this stuff. I love all these metaphysical things because I really truly believe it has helped me to elevate in my life. And so that is something that I love to help other people to do. And in that vein, I have a program, 8 Weeks to Limitless. And it is like unlike any other program that I have ever done. And so I'm super, super grateful and excited for it. And it really is helping you to embody yourself and your soul, and helping you on your journey as you step into this awakening process. Because here's the thing, people, as we go, we want things, we want a good job, or we want our business to be successful, or we want, things to grow and light up. And once we get those things, we think that everything is going to be fine. Now I'm good. My life is good. My finances are good. I'm walking in abundance, all these things. But then you realize there's something missing. Something missing. Your soul is not being fed. And so if that is something that, you're looking at and you're feeling that all in your spirit and in your body, and you don't even know that you're feeling it in your spirit and your body, but you are, and you know that something is missing because you are, you've already reached, your high ladder. You might have broken through the glass ceiling. You might have been running a 6 or 7 figure business. All of these things are good for you. Your family is in check. Your children are, well behaving and doing the things that they're supposed to do and all of that kind of stuff. And so you feel like you're in this groove place. But then you look up and you feel something inside of you. You don't know what it is or where it has come from. So if that is something that you are thinking of and that is plaguing you, reach out to me and let's have a conversation and see if 8 weeks to limitless will help you. Or if I have another program, and I also have an upcoming membership that is flowing, where you can join and be as a founding member. So that I expect to be taken off in the next month, because I have somebody working on my on my membership site. So I'm super, super excited about that. So make sure that you reach out to me, because there is something that I can help you with. Whether I can send you a YouTube video, or we can have a discussion about, how you're feeling and what it is that you feel. And I can actually sit down with you and speak to that. So if that is something that you're interested in, comment wherever you're watching this video, or send me a DM on any of the platforms where you can, and I will definitely get back to you. So again, thank you for hanging out with me. It's been great. We will do this. I will read chapter 16. I think it is tomorrow, or the next time I read, maybe tomorrow, but if not, it'll be the next day. So again, thank you for hanging out. It's been a blast. Have a good one. Bye now.